Good evening, football fans, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with Rags here in season 5, episode 7. And tonight, here we have the honor of our guest tonight being the head football coach of Apalachee High, Kevin Saunders. Kevin, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you having me on.
Sure, no problem. Well, hey, before we get started here with your current position, let's start at the beginning. I mean, when you were growing up, did you play all sports, or was it mainly just concentrating on football?
Well, I don't think I was a great athlete, so I did play as many sports, football and baseball. Mostly, I wasn't very good in basketball. I grew up in Radford,
Right. Okay.
Virginia. So,
Yeah.
and my neighbor across the street was the head football coach, Norm Lindbergh, who's,
Okay.
Hall
Yeah.
of Fame, just recently passed, but one of the greatest high school football coaches in the state of Virginia. And fortunate to have played for him, grew up across the street from him, and grew up with all his kids.
Right.
And our family's really close. So, I played football for him, and it was a great time there in Radford, and enjoyed that. And that's Radford's right outside Virginia Tech, so
Right.
you know all those things. And Coach Beamer was at Radford as an assistant, 71, and my tie with Coach Lindbergh, and that helped me get in. While I went to Radford University, I
Okay.
coached football there at Radford High School for Coach Lindbergh and Buddy Schull, and learned a lot of football.
Right.
And then I took a job in Norfolk. Now it's no longer Norfolk Catholic anymore.
Right.
It's now it's shut down, so it's just Catholic High School, and I think it's in Virginia Beach.
Right.
So I was young as head coach then, and then from there, I went on and joined Coach Beamer's staff as a graduate assistant, which was a great time in my life, and learned a lot of football, especially from Bud and Coach Beamer and Ricky Bussell and those guys. It was a great time to be there.
Yeah, yes. And then also with talking about your high school football coach and with you going to Radford High School and Radford University, then of course who the athletic director is there at Radford. So just a lot of ties here there in the Virginia Tech Radford area there around athletics.
Yeah, it is. It's got a lot of ties there, and I was the head coach at William Campbell right there in Lynchburg, and then was the head coach at Gretna right there around Lynchburg. So that area is really close to me, means a lot to me. My son and grandson, granddaughter are both there in Lynchburg, and
Mm.
Mark Lindbergh's the head coach at Brookville there in Lynchburg, and we're dear friends. And I'm going to try to get back up to see my grandson play youth league football. But I know how important football is there in that area. Being the head coach at Gretna was a great time. Fortunate enough to win a state championship there. Played for two of them. Carried on the tradition there at Gretna, and that area and that community was awesome. Some of the best times of my life were at Gretna and William Campbell. I was fortunate enough when I was in Campbell County. Dr. Nolly was my superintendent there, who's one of the greatest guys ever to work for. So they really helped me shape my career and get me to where I am today.
Yes, and then your time at Virginia Tech there with graduate assistant. What it comes there for coaches starting their career and also what working on their masters. And what was it like being part of Coach Beamer's staff?
Well, I was there in a time when this one coach just started.
Right.
So I got to learn quite a bit from him. Graduate assistants back then were a lot different than they are now. And you had to do a whole lot. But back then you had to splice tape
Right.
and tape it, and not everything's as great digitally. And Todd Grantham, myself, and Brian Steinspring were three of the graduate assistants there. And I always tell everybody, I went to the high school route and they kept on going, and I kind of might have messed that up a little bit because they ended up going and doing great things and becoming, making a lot of money, which, I hate to say, but it is part of life. And then they
Right.
ended up doing, really great for themselves. And I took the high school route, and I remember sitting down and telling Coach Beamer that that's what I wanted to do. And I went from there to work for Skipper King, who played for Coach Beamer at Radford
Mm.
High School and played football at Virginia Tech. I went and worked for him at Bayside High School in Virginia Beach,
Yes. Okay.
and we were pretty good at that time. And I just I did not like the whole recruiting thing of college football. To me, even back then, it was really pretty cutthroat and that regard. And I saw good coaches that were really good coaches, but they didn't recruit well. And then I saw guys that could recruit and couldn't coach, not there at Virginia Tech, but different places. It wasn't for me. And you would had to move a bunch of times, which I've done in my career anyway, but you'd had to move a bunch of times to different places to get to where you wanted to be. And I wasn't so sure that college was what I wanted to do. I think coaching in high school is, you get to coach the hands you're dealt. You got to inherit what's around you. You can't really change a lot of the recruiting, even though here in Georgia it's gotten pretty bad as far as recruiting is concerned. And those things are what makes high school football what it is. I think, some of the best coaches I've ever seen have taken teams and won just 5 games with them, but they did a great job coaching. And so I got all the respect in the world for high school coaches and college coaches for that matter that stuck around for so long and done what they've done. It's a tough job. It's tough on your families. And it's a job that, I think it's not what it used to be as far as the work's concerned. You got more technology now, but I can remember lining fields with lime, and I remember lining fields with vaporized milk. I mean, doing things, that you had to, selling mattresses, selling pine straw to make money for your program, and those kind of things. And that stuff has changed nowadays. So, it's a lot to be said about the older coaches and stuff, and that's one of the ways I learned anything about football was watching the older coaches and talking to them and seeing how they did things. And Coach Beamer was really good to me and allowed me to learn a lot of stuff from him and from Bud Foster, who's still a dear friend of mine that we've stayed in touch, and I've always been had him as a resource for whenever I needed something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, yeah, and the other things like past episodes where Coach Beamer and Bud and even Coach Steinspring, I mean, I know that he's kicking off the program there at Roanoke College, but one thing when I have coaches on, it's definitely a great networking tool. And whether it's at the high school level or whether it's at the college level, it's definitely just a small world, and the connections of where one coach is here and then takes what they learned from that coach and goes on to lead their own program and so on, and just with coaching life.
It is, and one of the things is the greatest thieves of all time are coaches,
Yeah.
because they take stuff from different people and then mold it into what you're doing. And that's some of the stuff I've done. I've been fortunate to been around some great coaches and learned from them, and what they've done to help me get to where I want to be. They've always been very supportive of me and the stuff that I've done and the career path that I've taken, and I've never had to really have people that I could call and always get something and get the help that I needed, and to find a kid to get him a place to go play, or talk to him about, a scheme or whatever, or philosophy, or how we should handle certain things. All these coaches have been great to me. And, I want to make sure I do the same to other coaches that have been the same way with me.
Right. And just here with starting this interview off, I mean, you talk about being from Radford and the coaching experience, and then talk about, you know, going down 460 East here to, what was the 804 at that time, but, there with coaching down here, including, on the private school and public schools. So, what led here to moving on to Georgia? Just a new challenge, or just an opportunity came up?
Well, my thing was, I was there at Gretna, and I loved Gretna. But the thing was, in Virginia, that they don't pay coaches. I mean, I'll be
Yeah,
point blank honest
right.
about that. And then the retirement situation was not very good at that time. I mean, I hate to say, I'll tell everybody one of the reasons I left was I was there at Gretna and making $47,000 in year 24 or so
Right.
at Gretna, and making $3,500 as the head football coach. And we were going playing into December, and I was still only making $3,400 as the head football coach. And in Virginia, I didn't at that time. You didn't even get to count that money towards retirement.
Mm,
That little supplement. And Georgia has the state pay scale for teachers, which is tremendous. And I've had friends down here, Sid Maxwell, and who's done really well for himself here, and Jeff Herron just told me, they're both from Southwest Virginia, Jeff's from Gate City, and Sid's from Richlands, and they said, you got to come where you can make some money, and
right.
coach and do what you love to do. And so I applied for the worst job in the state of Georgia and got it at Cross Keys High School, and went there and won 6 games. And that got me from there to Pebblebrook, which was not a good job. And we did really well there. We got to play against Colquitt County in the playoffs, who Rush Probst was coaching, and
Mm,
I've got to coach against some of the best coaches in the country. And
right.
that was another thing I wanted to do, was see if I could really coach. I felt good about what I was doing, but I like being challenged. I like the fact of taking something that, especially when somebody says you can't win there, that's a job I always want.
Right.
Yeah, so you can say, "Hey, let me try it and see if I can do it that way." And I've been fortunate enough to have done that, and it's because I've had a lot of great players around me. I just put them in the right spot and just sit back and watch. I try not to get in their way, and we did that at Pebblebrook, and went from there to Gilmer and took over the state's longest losing streak there in my first year. And in the second game, we stopped it,
Mm,
and went on to win 4 games, which they hadn't done in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And then COVID hit, and I decided, if I wanted what I wanted to do. So I just decided to be an assistant for a couple of years, and then decided I wanted to get back into a head coaching job, and I just wanted to find the right spot. And I was fortunate enough to get the job at Apalachee, which is a growing area, and they had lost 28 to 29 straight games before I got there. And truthfully, the school had a mass shooting there at the school, and I got there in April, and the shooting had taken place in September, and there
mm,
was still a lot of issues with what was going on with that. And that, nobody tells you how to navigate that. Nobody writes a book on how you do those things dealing with that situation, but they have a tremendous administration there. The kids are very resilient. The community's incredible. And I just thought it was a great job. The athletic director that hired me there, I have a ton of respect for, and um, Ralph, and he did a great job for me and getting me hired there. And hopefully can continue to inspire these kids and get them to playing as well as they are. And hopefully we can continue to build something.
Yes, and Apalachee, that's in Winder, Georgia, and so what? That's like between Athens and Atlanta.
Yeah, it's right between Athens and Atlanta. We're not far from the University of Georgia. It's Barrow County. There's two high schools, Winder Barrow and Apalachee. Winder Barrow is the older school in the county. Apalachee's only been in existence for 25 years.
Mm.
They've had some football success. The community wants to be successful. Football in the state of Georgia is completely different than, I hate to say in Virginia,
Right,
but it is. There's a commitment to doing really well in football and all athletics in Georgia. Uh, they want to make sure that each school thrives in athletics and academics, and we got a good situation there at Apalachee with both. We got a great administration, new athletic director, and Caitlin Schmidt, who does a great job. And I'm just excited and happy to be there. I got a tremendous coaching staff that I got to bring in and hire, and everybody's got a different role. And it's been a great start so far. The kids are what's tremendous at this school. I mean, they work hard, they're committed, they were way more talented than I think what people thought they were. And the future looks good. It's a growing area. People are moving out this way from Atlanta and getting closer to from Athens to Atlanta. So it's a great area. And we're going to keep building and get this thing off the ground and make it a really good football program.
Yeah, yes. I mean, so when you came in there in April, I mean, on the field, they had some tough seasons, and then as you mentioned on what happened in September. So just coming in, I mean, basically on campus, both off the field and on the field. It was definitely a challenging assignment.
It was, and I've had a lot of great support
Right.
from the administration and teachers and the students. They want to do well. They want some normalcy in their lives. They want to just be a high school. They don't want to be known for the shooting. They
Right.
want to be known as a high school that just loves being a typical high school. And and in regards to that, I mean, my mom was right outside Blacksburg when the situation happened in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech.
Right.
So, and until you're around it and been through it and stuff, and I haven't been through it. All I was just happened to be there and now dealing with some of the stuff that they have gone through. We've had the greatest people there working with these kids and the teachers and just trying to heal. And this community needed, our first victory. I
Right.
mean, if anybody needed one, this community did, and our kids did a great job of delivering it. And I told them all along that we could win this game. It's just up to them now, and that's how we went about it, and played fairly well for the most part.
Yes, and I mean, I would say 29-9. I mean, what a great not only opening victory, but for the program here as the program continues on here in the 25 season.
Yeah, I told them when I took the job, we're going to win. I
Right.
just didn't know when.
Right.
And it happened maybe a little quicker than I thought. I thought we'd done some things really well in the summer. I thought we assembled a great coaching staff. And we got the kids in the right position, got 100 kids out. I mean,
Wow.
still 100 kids come out to play for a football team that had been 0-28.
Right.
Says something about the kids,
Right.
and they were hungry and they wanted to do well, and it was very important to them. And Friday was, well, we ended up having to play Saturday because of the weather, but
Okay.
it was a great atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere on Friday until we didn't even get to kick off. We got warmed up and it was packed, and I was looking forward to, everybody's looking forward to that. And then,
Right.
lightning hit, and we just made a decision to play it at 6 o'clock on Saturday,
Oh,
which the majority of the schools in the area did. The lightning blew in and it blew out, and then another cell was coming behind it. So we didn't want to start play at 10 o'clock. So
right.
we just did that, and it turned out to be a great day, great evening. Kids got to ring the bell, which is a tradition there at Apalachee, and they hadn't got to ring. None of those kids had won a high school football game that
Wow.
were on that field.
Right.
And that was something that was very important to them. And then having to come back on Monday and start practice, they weren't used to having to practice after winning a game. So we had to teach them about how to do this.
Right.
And then we've had the news, and we were state team of the week, and it's just been a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how we'll react tomorrow, because usually they don't play a game after winning the state championship. So, our kids winning that game Friday
Right.
or Saturday was huge, and it was an emotional game. Things happened, for great reasons, and everybody was ecstatic and crying and hugging and everything. And so to get them back up and focus this week has been a little bit of an issue, but the kids have done a great job with it. And it's going to be hard to play against a really good Cherokee Bluff team this Friday, tomorrow, and we'll go out there and give it a shot. This is a learning process. I told them when I took the job, I wasn't here to build for a season. I wasn't here to build for one game. We're trying to build a football program that's
Right.
going to be an established winning football program. So we just got to take care of ourselves more so than worry about Cherokee Bluff. If we can worry about ourselves, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yes, and with starting the season there, August 15th, I understand what the weather went into Saturday, but, on paper, the first game was Friday, August 15th. So I guess after 4th of July, it's pretty much, time for camp and get going for the first game there last week when summer practice started?
Well, and it's a little different in Georgia, because I'll
Okay.
tell you, we have spring practice, full pads in May. And
Oh,
then, yeah, just like you do in college. And then then school's out, and they got a dead period for a week. And then you can go out, and you just practice. You don't have pads on, you practice. And you practice in helmets for about 3 to 4 hours every day, or 3 days a week, or 4 days a week, or some people go 5 days a week. That's up to the school and how you want to do it. And then you can have an OTA, full pad, well, just shells, shoulder pads, and shorts, and you can have a contact camp. You try
oh,
not to take people down, but you can do that. So you can play against 4 or 5 schools there, and rotate, kind of scrimmaging for, you go about a couple hours, just like the NFL does when they go preseason, where they go and stay a day or two and practice with the team. You pretty much do the same thing with the team there. And
okay.
then you hit the dead period for the 4th of July. And then after 4th of July, you do start back the same thing. Usually about 12th, 13th, 14th of July, you'll have another padded camp where
Oh,
you can do that again. And then you get into uh, then school starts. We
right.
started school, and our first day was our scrimmage. We had a scrimmage the first day of school. So, the 8th, it was the 8th of August, and you just go.
Right.
I mean, that's what's expected, and that's what these kids expect, and coaches and things. So you really don't have much time off in the summer here.
Right.
Um, so that makes it a little different than what I think so in Virginia and things and certain states, but in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and stuff, it's a little, they get after it pretty good, and football really doesn't stop.
Right. Yes. And when you said 100 kids, does that mean for varsity and JV in the
Yes, that's
whole
nine.
program.
That's 9 through 12 in the program, but I also oversee the middle school program and I also oversee our youth league program. So
Oh,
I run the program from K through 12.
oh
And
wow.
so I make sure that, everybody's on the same page, schedules, coaches. We have coaches clinics for the youth league, and then we have coaches clinics for the middle school. I
Okay.
help hire the middle school coaches who's going to take those jobs, and they do the same thing that we do, and same offense, defense, same terminology, and we try to do the same thing with the youth league. So they are all on the same page.
Okay.
Um, and we just try to make it a program where all these kids come and they stay and they go. But then Georgia kids will transfer at a drop of a hat to a prettier and more school that can get them to where they want to be recruiting wise. So that big the recruiting's big in the state of Georgia. It's just and it's getting big in Virginia. And the guys I'm talking to there that are friends of mine, the kids want to go to where they can be seen, where the
Right.
college recruiters can see them, and those things. So those are all very important to these kids here.
Yes. Yes. And Kevin, I appreciate your time. I know that my wife saw the clip on the news, and when with the story of the program, and with you being from Virginia, my wife Elizabeth, she reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, I have an idea for a guest." So appreciate your time and sharing your story and talking about the program here at Apalachee High School.
Well, I thank you for the time. Anytime I can talk to people about football and try to give back, and being a Virginia guy, that means a lot to me. That's home,
Yes.
and my mom still lives there in Radford, and so does my brother. And like
Okay.
I said, my grandson's there, and my son is still in Lynchburg. So got a lot of good friends and players of mine that hadn't lived there in Lynchburg, and I stay in touch with. And that's the great thing about coaching is all the kids and the relationships you make with the kids and the players and people just talk to you and you get a phone call. I got calls from this guy, first they saw me on the TV and all that stuff, and then people calling after we won and stay in touch with you that way, and with Twitter and Facebook and everything that everybody knows what you're doing. So it was good to hear from everybody, and that's one of the reasons you do what you do.
Yeah, and to follow on as we close, I mean, and then also with the student athlete today, I mean, it's all nice to win and to win state championships, but also with coaching athletes here today, and even teaching students there in the classroom, being a mentor and and having them win at the game of life. So when the time is to hang up the cleats, they can use you as a reference, or just maintain that relationship over the years.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about it. Um, I've had kids that have just talked to me and text me, and I've sat down and gone out and had dinner with them and their families, and when they have kids, they send me pictures and stuff and all that. That's just one of the things that's great for me, and that's the main reason I still love coaching.
Right. Yes. And Kevin, I know that my wife and I, we have Virginia Tech football tickets, and
Awesome.
we have a friend that has a cottage there at Crater Lake. So
Wow, that's awesome.
this fall we'll be jumping on. I like the 460 west travel instead of 64 to 81.
Oh, no doubt. It's a much easier drive.
Yes. Well, hey, Kevin, I know with game tomorrow, I know that things are busy. So thanks again for your time, and good luck tomorrow. And I know that Elizabeth and I will definitely be tuned in to see how Appalachie continues on here in the 25 season.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's support, and go Cats, and then that's one of the great things to get to say, and I appreciate you having me on.
Sure thing. And so that was Kevin Saunders here with us this evening, the head football coach of Apalachee High School there in Georgia. Thanks again, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay.